Americans, after all. We count things. We're United Methodists. We're very methodical in how we do things. But we were invited this season to slow down, to be intentional about our discipleship, to reflect upon God present with us, not as a series of events to mark, not as rituals to perform, but a relationship that transforms us into disciples who are with God as willing participants, not as passive observers. So, I'll just read the titles of the 6 themes. The first week was the right tempo. Now, I can't read music. Never could. As the people sitting next to me in band could attest. But I knew how to march. I could go blindfolded across a football field and never leave the line. I'm not sure I can do that now, but it was important to feel the music, to anticipate what it said, not just the notes on the page, but who was it said that anybody can play the black notes? Musicians, anybody know that? Okay. Anybody can play the black notes, but it takes a musician to play the silence. Well, having come into the presence of God in the right tempo, pausing as God reveals the beauty of creation around us. We come to those moments where we gather around the table. We break bread after worship each week. We talk and we share the moment. It's not the stuff on the table that we gather in that room for, but we gather for the purpose of being together. That's the right tempo. But, so what? What are we hearing when we come together? Are we hearing judgment? Are we hearing ridicule? Are we hearing, well, if only you weren't devout, being present, hearing the other person. But in that hearing, we are reminded to set aside the baggage that we carry, the load that we have put upon ourselves, to take off the burden that we have put on someone else. Last week, we heard that there is indeed a time for everything. There is a time to be born and a time to die. Yesterday, we heard there's a time to laugh and a time to cry. Today we are told to give it a rest. Why? Why do you think Jesus said to his disciples and to the Pharisees, Let it go. Be present. Now, there are some here old enough to remember the blue laws. I know, Ed, you're not the only one old enough to remember that. Maybe
Dry Sundays.
a dry Sunday.
Still in Ohio.
Still in Ohio. What else could you not do on Sunday? Shop. Mow your lawn. Okay. Were any of you ever told if you don't go to church, you can't play with your friends in the afternoon? I don't care if the youth group is going to the movies. You need to go to worship. What now?
You couldn't buy paint because I had to leave work.
You couldn't buy paint. In Florida, you could buy a paintbrush, but you couldn't buy paint. You could buy a can of tuna, but you couldn't buy a can opener. Now, right now, here in our 21st century minds, those seem absolutely ridiculous. I mean, come on. A can opener? Really? That was intended to bring people closer to God? No. It was someone's idea that Jesus said, well, no, even older than Jesus. Careful with that one. The 10 Commandments. One of them was, remember the Sabbath and keep it holy. It's held right up there with thou shalt not murder. Keep the Sabbath, don't kill. The purpose of Sabbath, the purpose of all that we think Sabbath should be. What did Patterson say? The Sabbath was made to serve us. We weren't made to serve the Sabbath. Now, I like the way he phrased that, because this is what it means. Keeping the Sabbath isn't about putting a barrier between us and God. It's not about avoiding work. It's not about coming to church. It's about being present to God. In that moment of being present with God, it isn't a job. It isn't something we have to do correctly. It is simply being present with God. Because when we're present with God, we no longer have time to do the other things. It's not about what you give up, but what you receive. So how is the Sabbath then made for us? For nearly 2,000 years, we've been told that we have to honor the Sabbath, as if God could be confined to a day, an hour, a moment. We took all of time and brought God down to a manageable size. But Jesus says, in the moment of realization that the Sabbath was made for you, suddenly time expands. Suddenly the universe itself is just limitless. Because as we come together, as we read these ancient words, as we seek to hear and to find God in the face of our brothers and sisters, We pause. We listen. We hear. We know God. Because when all is said and done, when the last amen is said, when the lights are turned off in the last church, and God's people wonder not what's next, not why, find in that moment all there is, all there ever was. Because the whole point of the commandments, all 614 in the Old Testament, the whole point was to bring us back into harmony with God, to remove the barriers, to say it's not about a book or a building. It's not about an institution. It's about relationship with the divine. Because once we accept that it's not what we do, then we can say, you were here all along, weren't you? In every bad note that was sung, in every poorly delivered sermon, in every out-of-whack sound system, in every attempt to say there's something present, there's something special about this moment. Now, some of you have made pilgrimages. Now, if you're, well, let's say, I know. Let's say you're a golfer and you want to make a pilgrimage. Well, there's a couple nice places, significant places. But if you want to make a pilgrimage, you have to go to
Scotland.
And specifically St. Andrews.
The old Methodist.
If you're a baseball fan, well, you got to go to Cooperstown or Wrigley, Fenway, or even the new house that Ruth is next to. What if you're a cook?
Not my house.
Burger King, okay. If you're an American, you've got to go to Arlington and at least one time see the changing of the guard. If you're a Christian, it's not about going to Bethlehem or Jerusalem or Capernaum. It's about being present with God. Because wherever you are is holy. Wherever you are is the moment of realization that God is. Because in every other field of human endeavor, in every hobby, in every passion, there's a place. There are people that we emulate. There are halls of fame. But there's no hall of fame for Christians. Because it's never been about us. There's no place that we have to go to find God. There's no act that separates God from us. Because every time that we rest and are present with God, that's the grandest worship that's ever existed. In every humble act, if it is done as though we were doing it to Jesus, that is a truly holy ritual. In all of this, the ordinary, profane, the holy, every moment, every breath, we draw closer to God. That is worship. Everything which lifts us up, brings us and draws us into the presence of the holy. That is God. This week, we call it Holy Week. Some will be here Thursday night as we remember in a unique way the institution or the origin, what we call the Last Supper. This is not a somber event because we remember that Jesus was there. Some will come back on Friday for a day we call Good Friday. A day that it's so good that we remember somebody being killed. Some will go shopping on Saturday because there's nothing special about Saturday. Some might find their way back next week, next Sunday. And, you know, I don't know what's going to happen next Sunday. I think there might be some wheatgrass. There might be some bacon. Bob promises bacon. That's a really good way to remember a Jewish guy.
Okay, sausage.
Okay. I'm pretty sure there'll be flowers.
Yep.
Any music planned next week? Okay, there's some music planned. We might even read from this book again. But you don't have to wait for next Sunday to lift up your hearts to God, to be present with God, to say, today, this moment, this is all I have. I can't grasp the past and present that to you. I can't latch on to the future. All I have is this moment, this breath, to be present with you. Do that.